All right, hey, what's up guys? Coach Mac, Play Fast Football. Today I'm going to do a video talking to you about how I think about using and choosing my personnel. I'm going to start it from 3-3 stack, and then I'm going to explain to you why I choose certain players at certain spots. Today I'm going to focus on the weak side linebacker in the stack, and I'm going to explain to you why it's important for me to choose that player correctly in my defense. All right, make sure you check out some of our partners, GameStrat, sideline replay company we use. If you're looking for highly reliable, highly affordable, make sure you check out GameStrat. Dome Hats, headwear company we use. All right, this is one of my custom BK football Crusader logo, Dome logo, white fitted hat. You can customize and build your own hat. It can be fitted, snapback, Velcro. You can change the panels, color styles. You design your own hat. Stock hats suck. Make sure you check out Dome Hats. Baker Sporting Goods company we use. Shirts like this. Our uniforms are distributed from them. Coaches, sideline apparel, practice gear, fan gear. You can get everything from coaches, fans, players gear, all in one spot. Check out Baker Sporting Goods. Difference USA, the ultimate striking machine. You get thousands of reps. Do not need a partner. They hook right up into the racks that are in your weight room currently, so you don't have to worry about somebody holding a hand shield or a dummy and providing resistance. It's you and the ultimate striking machine. Perfect for in-season, off-season, striking development. If you want to strike violently, you better practice striking violently. And then our newest partner to the group, to the Play Fast family, Aren Consulting, which is a consulting business designed to keep coaches at the forefront of the recruiting process. So they are there to help educate coaches on the recruiting process, things like the NCAA timeline, important recruiting dates, all right, how to build college contacts. So as coaches, we use so many tools in our daily coaching lives to help us get better, from editing tools to stat tools to different templates that we use for practice plans or game plans. Why not use a tool to help us with recruiting? You can check them out by going to getaren.com, GETAREN.com. Have them help you with the recruiting process, especially educating coaches on the recruiting process. So I started in the 3-3 stack, the way we used to play the 3-3 stack for us, 3 safeties, split field coverage. And today I want to focus on how we choose that weak side stack linebacker and why we choose that weak side stack linebacker, right? So for us, when those guys are in the box, all right, I want that weak side jack linebacker. Okay, you can call it whatever you want. Doesn't have to be called a jack. He can be the will in your terminology. It doesn't really matter. I want that player to be the most versatile of the linebackers, because he's going to be the guy I move around a bunch and do different things with. Okay, so that's how I choose my personnel when I'm in the 3-3 stack. I usually, all right, make the Sam linebacker a little bit more of a cover guy, so when we get 3-by-1, if the Sam's going to have to remove from the box a little bit, all right, he's a little bit better cover guy than the Mike, who's my traditional plugger. He's going to be in the box 99% of the time when we play the 3-3 stack. He's going to be the guy that's more of the run plugger. That's how I choose when I'm thinking about my backers. When I'm thinking about the front, I usually put, to me, the better pass rusher or the lighter speed-orientated kid at the, all right, passing strength or the call side 5 technique, and on the weak side 5 technique, that's usually the bigger body. And the reason I do that is because the jack is going to be the player that we move around a bunch, right? So if we start in the 3-3 stack, if I wanted to go, all right, so right now I've got it drawn up, obviously, the 2-by-1, 20 personnel, however you want to look at it, all right? But if they removed and they went 2-by-2, okay, and I decided that versus 10 personnel 2-by-2, I wanted to play more tight front, all right, I could get into tight front stuff, leave the Sam and the Mike in the box, and now the jack walks out from outside the box, and he becomes a player that can be the apex player. He can be the overhang, right? So if I wanted to play 3-4 tight stuff, I could use the jack as a walkout, use the jack as the overhang to the 2 receiver side, as long as he can play the coverages that I need him to play. He's not the nickel. The nickel is the true nickel for us in that defense. He's the 3rd safety. Right, so I'm not asking the jack to be that guy. I'm asking the jack to be more of a linebacker that can play as an apex. Okay, so this might be a guy that we've tried to find that was a little bit too big to play safety. All right, but we don't necessarily love him as an every down backer in the box. He can play in the box, and he will when we go 3-3 stack, but we don't necessarily love him as an every down backer inside the box, right? So he might have been a safety. He might have been a backup tailback. He might have been an athlete that we need to get on the field. How do we create a spot for him? When we're 3-3 stack, now we can be 3-3 stack, and then when we go tight front, more of a 3-4 look, 3-2 box, we can move him out to be that kind of apex defender, right? Now, we could stay 3-3 stack, and he still becomes the apex guy, so we could stay with our stack principles, all right, and he could still be the apex defender. Now we just got to make sure that we can handle the B gap, whether we two gap with the anchor or we make some type of movement with the anchor there, all right, and tell him that he's going to move to close the B gap, or if we play him a little bit thicker and tell him versus certain blocks he's going to be a B gap player, all right, and then versus pass sets he's going to stay on the edge, but if he gets down block, he's squeezing. If he gets any base or reaches, he can play inside the B gap and force the ball out to the jack. So we can keep similar 3-3, all right, stack principles, or we can make it true 3-2 box tight front if we're worried about it in 2x2. And now when we do that, again, that jack is that player that I need to be a pivotal part of the defense, right? I need him to be able to do multiple things. Then when I want to go to any 4-down stuff, all right, for me, the jack would be the guy that I would move to be the 4th down player. So now if I wanted to go 4-2-5 or 4-2 boxes, the jack now becomes the guy that I play as the 4th guy down. Okay, so again, when I'm looking at it, is there a tailback on our team that we can play that's not playing a bunch of tailback that we can use? He's athletic enough, he's physical enough, he doesn't mind contact, right? Maybe it was an inside backer that's big enough to be a 4th rusher, but he's athletic enough to be an apex guy, right? So it's that kid that's 190 pounds, 200 pounds, he can run, he can understand coverages. We're not asking him to match verticals. I'm never going to ask him to match a vertical. I'm asking him to maybe be a swing deep a 3 player, maybe a curl flat defender. All right, I'm asking him to understand how we pattern match, but he doesn't have to match a vertical. Right, so I'm not going to ask a guy to be a 4th down. All right, when we go to a 4-down package and be an apex guy to carry verticals or a 3x1 player to carry verticals. Right, I'm going to ask him to do a few different things and be versatile. All right, but I'm going to find a body type that I think can do it. And in my thinking, the way I look at it is, this is that guy on offense that you're trying to find as that hybrid tight end sniffer, that movement guy. He can be in line, he can be part of a 3-man surface, maybe he can back up, he can be the second puller, all right, on counter, he can be a kick out guy on power, he can be a split zone guy, he can be a guy that you can widen out, all right, in 10 personnel sets and get a matchup that you like. So that's the same guy on offense that I'm trying to find on defense. And the biggest key for me is, how can I be multiple while playing the same personnel? Excuse me. And the reason I say that is, a lot of times in high school, you're 11 best or you're 11 best. You may not have a lot of personnel changes that you can make. So for us, we have a personnel change we make on 3rd down. We have dime packages, all right, nickel dime stuff, and we have some short yardage stuff, but we don't match personnel per se on an every down basis, because a lot of the times we don't have the bodies to match the personnel. So we have to be able to play multiple offenses, all right, as long as, all right, they're base in structure. We have to play multiple offenses, and 11 and 21 and 10. We have to be able to play them with the same personnel. So for me, it's always trying to find that guy that I think I can do a bunch of things with, right? So he can be a 3-3 stack backer, he can be an apex, he can be a 4th rusher. So I equate it to that guy on offense they're trying to find, that tight end, that hybrid sniffer, that fullback, that guy that they're trying to move around, all right, so that they can stay in the same personnel groups and rip the tempo, okay? I'm trying to find that same guy on defense. I want to find that guy that I can use to do multiple things when I'm facing base offenses, right? I'm not talking about, all right, double tight 3-back sets. I'm not talking about your extreme goal line offenses. I'm just talking about between the 20s, teams are ripping, they're 10, they're 11, all right, maybe they're 12, maybe I have to use them in a 12 scenario, okay? But I'm trying to play as multiple as I can play and be as multiple as I can be on defense while using the same personnel, right, without making personnel changes. So for me, when we were 3-3 stack, it was that weak side jack, that 3-4 jack linebacker. So think about the old days, right, when the Giants were terrorizing people and you had Lawrence Taylor on one side, Carl Banks on the other, and Lawrence Taylor for the most part was a rusher. When he dropped, he only had a couple assignments, all right, in pass coverage wise, okay, but he was that weak side outside backer. We've now taken that kind of a step further and said, hey, we need that guy to be a little bit more versatile than that. And for us, those are the guys we're trying to find anyways. We're trying to find that 185-pound, 190-pound physical kid. He runs well enough to be in coverage. We're not going to ask him to match verticals, but he's also physical enough to put his hand on the ground or be a stand-up defensive end, right? So a lot of times it's a tailback. Maybe it's that tight end from the other side that can't find, his way on the field, but he's 210, 215 pounds, and he can be in the box. He's good enough. He's got good enough hips to be in coverage. We're not going to ask him to play a ton of man. We're not going to ask him to match verticals. We're just going to ask him, all right, to be a swing deep a 3 guy, maybe carry somebody to the flats. Very rarely, kind coverage-wise, he'll very rarely carry a number 2, all right, to the flat. We won't play quarters with him outside of 2 and ask him to carry 2 to the flat, all right? We'll ask him to push with a back to the flat and match that because that's the personnel type that he is, right? So we got to be careful with our coverage. We got to be careful with our structure, all right? We like the kid when we want to zone pressure or he can drop from different looks because he's athletic enough to do that. And all I'm trying to do is get as multiple as I can with the same personnel on the field. Now, last year when we were 3 high, the way we chose to do that was with our Mike linebacker, right? So we had a sophomore Mike linebacker that we liked a bunch, all right? He was a really good player in the box, okay? And he was 205 pounds, and he was physical, so we could also play him. For us, all right, we could also play him on the line of scrimmage. So what we did is we started in our tight front stuff. Last year for me, it was this guy, all right, when we were in the 3 high world. Now, this was about the best defender I had, okay? This guy for us was our leading tackler, okay? But the wild card of the group was that guy because that's the guy that I moved to ask to do different things. So when we went from tight to mid front, okay, we took the Mike and we played him as the 4th rusher from the weak side. Okay, now I was very fortunate last year because when I did that, I also had a 200-pound middle safety that I played in the box because that's where he's going to play in college. He's going to end up being a Sam or a Will linebacker. So I played him in the box and we went to 2 high structures when we played mid front. But this guy was the key because I could play him as the 4th rusher. When we went over front last year, we stayed 3 high, but I made the Mike the 4th down to the side that we set the 3 technique, and then I kicked the front away from that, so the nose became a shade away, the anchor became a 5, and the end became the 3 technique. So, last year when I was choosing personnel, that was the bigger of the 2 bodies, because when I went over front, I put the Mike strong, and I kicked that end down. So I wanted him to be the bigger of the 2 bodies, and I wanted that to be more of my speed guy, right? Well, if I was in the 3-3 stack world, the way we used to be, okay, for me it would have been that weak side jack linebacker. So last year, this was the wild card for us. He was the guy that we moved around. He was the guy that we went from tight to mint to over, and he was the one that did the moving for us. He was the 4th rusher. He was the 4th down in the over front, okay? If I was going to be playing the 3-3 stack, again, this is how we use our personnel, and you have that choice on defense. If I was a stack team, all right, now when I choose my personnel, I choose it a little bit differently. That would be the wild card guy. That would be the guy that I'm going to do a bunch of different things with. Okay, and then because I'm going to use him as my 4th down, now remember, if we're 3-3 stack, I can certainly move and send a 4th. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about slant angle. I'm not talking about plugging her head in the backer. I'm talking about when I want to go from front to front and physically change the front, right? So now we can, if we use him as the 4th down, all right, then that means when we kick the front, I'm going to kick the anchor in, and I'm going to kick the front the other way. So now for me, when I'm 3-3, I want the anchor to be the thicker of the 2 bodies, and I want the end to be my speed player, right? So we're always looking at our roster. We're always looking at how we can get better on defense, all right? We're always looking at the structure we need to play that fits our roster personnel group, right? So when we're doing that in the offseason, part of my deal for me is when I find the guys that I think I like to play spots, what structure am I going to use that's going to make me the most versatile? The last 2 years, we were a tight front 3 high team. And the Mike linebacker was the guy that we played as the 4th down. So I had to be really careful with who I chose at the Mike because he was going to have, you know, a skill set that needed to be a 5 technique or a 7 technique on a tight end. But he also had to play linebacker in the box. If I was going back to the 3-3 world that we used to live in, this would be my wild card, right? So I'm always choosing my personnel. I'm always thinking about my personnel. I'm always thinking about how I can get the best guys on the field, okay? But the structure that I might have to play makes me choose those guys a little bit differently, right? So if I want to be an odd team that can morph to even without making personnel changes, the wild card's always going to be the guy that I play as the 4th down. And for me, the way I want to do things on defense in a 3-3, it would be the weak side guy because now I feel like I can jump from 3-3, all right? I can jump to 3-2 as long as the personnel, all right, as long as the body types can handle it, and that's why I would choose the personnel that way, all right? So it would be 3-2, All right, and then I can jump to 4-2 boxes. All right, so I can go with the same personnel on the field, and I can get from that box to that box to that box without changing the personnel. So when I do that, I need to choose the personnel for me that I want to be the movement guy. I'm not going to ask all 3 linebackers to do it. If I want to get to a different front, I can slant from the 3-3 stack and I can plug the Mike. I can slant and I can send the Sam from the strong side. But as far as the base package is concerned, the guy that I want to be doing multiple things is going to be the jack, and that's who I'm going to choose with my personnel. All right, I'm going to think about who is that guy for us. Is there a guy on offense we can find? Is there a guy on the back end that we like that's maybe just a little bit too slow to play safety, but he's physical enough that he can be in the box? He's 185 pounds. He'd be great as an apex. All right, those are the guys we're trying to find. We're always trying to take our personnel and figure out how can we utilize our roster. Maybe kids that aren't being used at other places. Like I said, a backup tailback at a lot of high schools is a great guy to find because he probably can play good defense for you. He doesn't mind contact, all right, depending. Now, if he's a scat back, that's different. But if you have your typical tailback, he gets hit all the time, he gets tackled all the time, he probably doesn't mind contact. He'll stick his nose in there. He's not afraid to run the ball, so he shouldn't be afraid to tackle anybody. Now, not every tailback has defensive skill sets. I'm just saying, if you're thinking about who those players are, maybe it's that tight end sniffer, all right, who's good enough to block and good enough to catch passes. Maybe he's a little bit light, so he's not the starter. He's only 190 pounds, and the starter's your 215-pound tight end. But that's a kid that can do multiple things. He's got to have a decent football IQ. We've got to teach him and trust him to learn the game of football, all right, and we have to teach that to him. Okay, so for me, the structure is always going to dictate who I'm trying to find and the personnel pieces that I'm trying to find. Whether it be which one of the 2 ends are the thicker and which one's the speed guy. So when I bump the front, who goes to the 3, who goes to the 5? I always want the bigger guy, all right? If I started in tight, all right, and I had my druthers or I could choose different guys, when I started in tight and the Mike became the strong side 4th down and over, that meant my end, in my terminology, kick to the 3 technique. Well, I want the end to be thicker than the anchor. All right, I want the anchor to be more of the weak side speed guy. When I do it this way, well, now I'm going to think about the anchor being the thicker guy and the end being the speed guy, because the end's going to go to the 5 and the anchor's going to go to the 3 if I kick the jack down, all right? And, you know, if the strength was set that way and we lined up the passing strength, we get into an underfront, all right? Whether there's a tight end in there or not, it ends up similar to overfront. It's a matter of where the 3 technique is. Right? If there was a tight end in the game, we would look more like an underfront. We would put the nickel down a little bit tighter, play our quarters deal, and we would have shade 5, 9, or loose 9 on a tight end, and we'd have the 3 and the 5 away. Right? So in theory, it now becomes underfront instead of overfront. Right? Can I slant and move to overfront and send my Sam? Yes, I can. Okay, so I'm just looking at ways I can use my personnel. I can get the best guys on the field, and I can be multiple with those guys on the field without having to change packages between the 20-yard lines, base down and distances. All right, yes, short yardage we've got to change. Yes, all right, 3-back, double tight, heavy sets, 13 personnel, whatever it may be. All right, yes, I would have to make some changes to that. But if it's 10, 11, 21, whatever, you know, base between the 20s, I want to be able to play every down with the guys that I have on the field. So for me, it's always trying to find that hybrid guy, the guy that I can kind of move around a little bit. He's not a hand-on-the-ground guy every down, all right? So he's not a defensive end, but he can play a 5 technique. Even if he has to stand up, he's good enough to do that. We're not going to live in an overworld. If we were going to live in an overworld, I would find 4D linemen, all right? And if it's a linebacker that we feel is big enough and strong enough to do it, and maybe he's missing a little bit on the back end, well, then maybe we'll progress him when he's younger. We'll progress him down to be a defensive end. If it's a kid that is just growing exponentially every year, and he's eating himself and lifting himself into a 5 technique, then that's the way you could do it. But if I'm an odd front team, and I want to be multiple, all right, and we start in the stack defense, the wild card for me, the way I do things. Now again, this is just the way I think. Remember, I'm always giving you my opinion on what we do. The wild card for me, all right, when I do this, the wild card for me becomes him. That's the guy that I'm going to move around. That's the guy that if we bump to 3-4 is the apex. If we go 4 down, he's the guy that's 4 down. That's just the way I think. It's the way that I want to do things, right? Doesn't make it the right way. Doesn't make it the only way. You have to find in your system, if you want to be multiple and be able to get in and out of odd and even fronts, all right, without slanting, blitzing, moving to them. I'm saying you want to line up with 4 down, all right? Or you want to line up, maybe one guy is not a hand on the ground, but you're definitely playing some type of 4-man front. If you want to do those things, you got to figure out who that wild card is. All right, now last year, tight front, it was the Mike for me. This year, might be changing structures. If we go back to 3-3, it's going to be the Jack. I have to understand that. I have to know what I'm trying to get to. I have to know the pieces that I'm manipulating, all right, to see how much we can do, how multiple we can be. Okay, if we're just a 3-3 stack team and we have to slant and angle and pressure to get to other fronts, then we'll do that. There's been years where we've done that. All right, but if I've been at a place for a couple years and the kids know what we do and I can be multiple, I can be the stack box, all right, I can be tight front 3-2 box and I can be 4-2 box. If I can do all those different things, so last year for us we were tight, mint, over. That's what we played, right? My second year at the school, bunch of returning players, had a great year on defense the year before. We could do those things, all right? When I was new at places, or my first year, or when I started, 25 years ago, I started at a school that the kids hadn't played a ton of football. Football was new at that school. It was a brand new school that was converted from a junior high to a high school. We can't carry all those things, okay? But if I want to be multiple at the school I'm at now for 3 years, and I'm going to change my scheme a little bit, to me, if I go 3-3 stack, the Jack's going to be the guy I find. I have a guy that I absolutely love to do it. That's how I think I'm going to get the most mileage out of him. So that is my thinking process. That is what I was doing. If I had enough defensive linemen and I was going to go 4 down, then it would change my thinking a little bit with who the 4 down are, who I want to play on the weak side, who's the 3 technique, who's going to be the 7. That's where I would be thinking about things a little bit differently. When we were 3 high, it always started with middle safety first. That was the guy, had to find the right guy there. Then for me, the next most pivotal position became the Mike, because that was the guy that was going to be our 4th down because we didn't include him in our coverages. All right, so just a thought on how you use and choose your personnel. Just a thought on how you can be multiple with the same personnel on the field. All right, if you're a team that matches personnel, so be it. All right, if you love to match personnel the way a lot of the college and the NFL game is played, if you think you can match personnel with your personnel, so be it. If you're a team that's got 11 that are your best 11 and you got to play, but you want to be multiple, all right, here's how you can think about choosing your personnel to get the most out of them, get the right guys on the field while still trying to be multiple, all right? Make sure you check out some of our partners, including the newest one, Aren Consulting, all right? Get Aren, GETAREN.com, all right? Check them out. They can help coaches, the education in the recruiting process. As always, GameStrat, Dome, Baker, Difference USA. Check our partners out. Hit that subscribe button if you're not a subscriber. Turn your notifications on. Every time we do a video like this or every time we go on YouTube Live, you'll get that notification. Thumbs up, thumbs down if you like the videos, all right, or don't like the videos. It's your opinion. I just am glad you watched. Thank you for watching. If you don't like the video, just say you don't like the video, all right? It's no big deal. It doesn't hurt my feelings. Leave a comment. Every comment I can see on my side, I always try and respond to every comment that I can see on my side. Also, if you're interested in the virtual clinics that I have on my site, I've got 11 different virtual clinics. I just sent out 11 more to somebody today. I've got 11 different virtual clinics, offense, defense, some practice drill stuff, blitz family, split field, tight front, 3-3 stack. I have an RPO webinar that I did a couple years ago for Glazier. I've got a screen game clinic. Noma Zone did a clinic. We've got an O-line clinic. We've got an Atavist tackling clinic. Colgate DC. So I've got about 11 different virtual clinics on my site that you can have. Email me, sting8740@gmail.com. I'll let you know, all right, how you can have those. I've been charging anywhere from, depending on how many clinics I'm sending, $10 to $15, charging people for 20 hours of football, $10 to $15 for anywhere between 10 and 20 hours of football. Not a bad deal, all right? Not a bad way to support Play Fast Football, not a bad way for you to kick off your off season. So if you're interested in any of those videos, sting8740@gmail.com. All right, we work out the payment. They're all links on my site that are not published, so I can get them at any time. I grab them, I email them to you. You have every link. You can watch them a million times. You can share them with people on your staff. I do not care. If you're interested in that, email me at sting8740@gmail.com. Thanks for everything you do for me at PlayFast. Thanks for everything you do for the coaching community and our youth and our football programs. And we are 14,000 away from 4 million. So it's going to be a pretty cool milestone to get to 4 million views with the format that we use, just me, whiteboard, X's and O's, all ball, no bull, all gas, no brakes, just a guy doing videos, no edits. Right now I'm doing it from my equipment room, right? So no professional studio, no edits, just me, markers, whiteboard. Thank you so much for what you do. 4 million is going to be a really huge milestone for us. And when we hit it, we're going to throw some type of YouTube party. All right, so remember, you won't play well until you play fast. Thank you for everything you do, and I will catch you next time.